pleased to find was that there were particular steps that were being taken or being considered to reduce energy use and things like that on campus. The Sodexo food service was considering going to Trayless food service, which has just recently been implemented as of the beginning of this school year, after the task force's work. There were replacements of ventilation hoods in the science labs and the food service, which were being considered to be able to remove you know, what exhaust systems need to remove without causing too much cooling of the buildings by removing the heated air. And also, I think, reducing the electrical requirements of the motors. Having switches that would turn them on only when they were needed, and replacing fluorescent light bulbs by less energy using ones, replacing incandescent light bulbs with compact fluorescent. So a lot of that was already happening, and it was really good to hear how much action was being taken.
The Trayless program, when we first tried it out, when we first had the when we first did our few experiments last year, generated a lot of discussion, and some people, and we tried to explain as best as we could why we were doing it, to save the college money, to stop wasting so much food, all these different things. And there was a good amount of backlash, but we were able to demonstrate to Sodexo how much money they were saving. This year, now that they have gone Trayless, they put in a new conveyor belt system which has cut down on the clogs at the tray return quite a bit. They bought a really, really nice set of trays, or not trays, of plates and bowls, and they the plates are bigger, and almost no one this year has raised it as an issue. Last year, when the plates were a little bit smaller and not as nice, it was kind of inconvenient, but when everyone came back to campus this year, and that's just how it was, they accepted it pretty readily. When I last talked to Sarge, the head of the food service, he said that he hadn't gotten a single comment card about it.
We started going Trayless in June with orientation for the freshmen, so that when they came in, their whole experience with Ripon would be Trayless. With them, we worked with getting extra staff out there so that we could work with the system that we had until we could get it remodeled. In July, we started having the tray remodel, so that when we were in August, when the students came back, we were ready to go.
How have the students reacted to it?
Very favorably. I was anticipating a little complaint, not one. Not one. I was really surprised and pleased with that.
Yeah, that's great.
That was wonderful, yeah. In waste, we went to 1/4 of the waste that we normally generate with a tray. When we did the initial survey with trays and without, we were able to cut it down in half. So let's say if a student or a customer threw out 7 to 8 ounces, they were throwing out anywhere from 2 to 3 ounces, maybe to 3.5. I think we're down to just under 2 ounces a person in waste. When I came back in January, one of the things that I talked to Andy Bean about was, how can we get more sustainable? How can we get away from being, get to being Trayless? With his help, we kind of sat together and did a few samples of going Trayless to start the process. We also looked at recycling our products. At that point, we were just recycling our paper because we didn't have anywhere to take our cans and the rest of the items that we could recycle. So we started on a process of working through all of that. We worked first with the Trayless initiative. We did a couple of samplings, saw how much we could save in waste. Of course, the environmental benefits of it, the water that goes down into the water, the soap that goes down into the sewer system, into the clean water out there. So we did the survey, we looked at it, and then what I started doing is looking at, student feedback at that time was pretty much down the middle as to liking it and not liking it. So what I kind of looked at and worked with Dean Ogle on is how can we change the look of it so that maybe we could look at larger plates, a nicer dining facility to eat in so that it would be seamless to go through that process. And so we looked at purchasing larger plates so they wouldn't have to necessarily figure out how to carry 3 or 4 plates or 2 plates or something like that. We started working with that. Over the summer we were able to purchase those items. So when we started the fall, we had those processes already in place. We were able to also buy a belt system, you know, so that it would work its way through. The lines weren't long at where they had to take their dishes back with the person actually taking the dishes from them. So we looked at a belt system. So those are the things that we did on that particular initiative. Our friends at Facilities worked with us on getting an additional receptacle so we could recycle right here with our cans, glass, and all those items. We still work with Facilities on taking the paper every couple of days down to Facilities because that's where the big compactor is. It's kind of how we started. We put some extra recycle bins in the kitchen, worked with our kitchen staff. This, you know, this is what we're doing. This is great for the environment. It's great for us. It's great for the future. Let's start doing this. Everybody jumped on board, and we worked through it. When we tried it originally, we had the old system, the beltless system, where the system that we had would really only work with a tray or with tubs, which means we needed labor out front. And Andy and his group were wonderful to help us with that when they came in. Students came back with their plates. We set up a couple of tables. We did the breakdown of the glassware, the silverware, the plates, put them into tubs, then roll them to the back so that we could actually weigh everything. In doing that, it seemed like, gosh, this is going to be a challenge to try to have the staff to do it at every meal. A couple of people stationed in front, up to 3 during busy times. A couple of people stationed in the back to run the dishes through, you know. So we looked at it and said, well, what we should do is look at the whole system. So we looked at buying a tray belt that would keep the trays going on, measured the trays, measured the belt for the plates so that they would fit. Silverware, the company that we worked with, Caddy Corporation, was real good. They actually have a spot at the end where the silverware drops off into a bucket that gathers it, so it actually helps with the labor side of it also, makes it more environmentally friendly.
To be completely carbon neutral, it will take time and resources and ongoing conviction and commitment. And it's not something that one person can make happen. Almost everything that you do to become sustainable has an inconvenience factor attached to it. If it were easy, everybody would do it. If it were easy and cheap, it would already have been done. So we have to look at, every organization, especially Ripon College, has lots of needs and lots of unmet needs that resources could help out. So you have to prioritize, and we have lots of priorities. It'd be nice to say we have one priority. We have lots of priorities, which is sustainability is only one of them. So you have to allocate resources to do what you want to do, and recognize at the same time as you allocate resources towards sustainability, you're also increasing the inconvenience that we all endure. And the example I would use, for example, moving the parking lots so that people would walk more. That's inconvenient, especially in February. It's extremely inconvenient. Not having trays is inconvenient because you're balancing your drink and your food, and you have to make more trips back and forth and get back in line to get the food that you want to get. So there's an inconvenience factor. If you lower thermostats, you change the lights, there tends to be an inconvenience factor. Also, the cost of a fluorescent light as opposed to a luminescent light is more expensive. Not in the long run, but in the short run, and it still takes resources in the short run to purchase that kind of technology. If we go to a geothermal or some sort of wind turbine system, we have to come up